Good evening. My name is Odie Hawkins, and I'm here to once again read columns from a newspaper called the African Times that I wrote for 2 years, 1996, 1998. And I've stated endlessly that one of the purposes for me reading the columns is to sort of compare what is happening in 1966, 68 to what's happening now. But before I begin, Zola, I have to tell you this. I got a phone call from a friend of mine in Chicago named Bobo, who's been watching what we're doing.
Yeah, you mentioned Bobo before.
Yeah, I've known Bobo for ages. And he asked the question and said, hey, I kind of understand what you're doing, but what are these books behind you about? And, right here. Well, we're lining up to say Odie has written 38 books.
About 38, 39.
And here's some of them. This is
Holidays.
Holidays, and it's kind of, for those who've for those who've seen the movie American Fiction, I wrote American Fiction before there was an American Fiction.
There you go.
And it was for a publishing company called Holloway House.
Okay.
And the Holidays, the book is about what happened in that particular publishing house.
Satirical in a sense, yes. Okay.
They cooked the books so hard, and so they had such a big thing of, they must have used a wok to cook the books in. So that's another story. Then was then, now is now. Shackles Across Time. Incidentally, the cover for Holidays was done by my friend Tony Gleason.
Yeah.
Shackles Across Time, this particular African outline with the colonial flags planted on it was done by none other than the inimitable Zola Salena-Hawkins.
Thank you.
Shackles Across Time, briefly, is the story of an African slave trader. They did have him. Whether they knew that they were sending their people off into chattel slavery is open to question. But they did know that they never saw anybody who came back. Very few came back, put it that way.
Right.
Anyway, the story is about a slave trader's family being cursed because they had taken the last member of a family and sold him away. They have a reunion centuries later. The family was, the reason I always say diasporas rather than diasporas, because when the slave trade happened, if you looked at it closely, we were taken everywhere to all these little black islands: Antigua, Dominica, Jamaica, Barbados, Cuba.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody saying, I was applying for legal help from a very wonderful Jewish organization, and the young lady asked me, kind of in a joking way, did you lose anyone in the Holocaust? And I had to tell her, so countless millions in not a Holocaust, but a number of Holocausts, because each one of the slave trading countries that picked people from Africa took them all over everywhere. It was a Holocaust after a Holocaust, in addition to a diaspora.
One thing I like with Shackles Across Time, that the curse that was given in Africa to the DNA transfers into the current time, and the method that has to be used to get rid of the curse.
Okay, the method, what you want to talk about?
Well, just the fact that the DNA is through like Ancestry.com, that they realized that every third child, there was a problem. And so they hired...
The curse was that every third child in the family, dating back from about the 17th century.
Right. And so the person doing this ancestral study figured that that's not coincidence. There's something wrong here. What is it? And through research, whatever, they did find out that there was a way, if they went back to Africa, there was a way to get rid of the curse. But
okay, one of the ways I was explained. It was explained to me by a South African Sangoma.
Mm-hmm.
The Sangoma is like a Yoruba priest, except that they are South African,
Mm-hmm.
and they use various methods to empty a person's insides out. In some of the West African rituals, they will have a person go without food for 7 days, and to cleanse you, and the understanding is that after 7 days you're ready to tell the truth when you speak.
Little Sweets.
Mr.
Right.
Sweets.
Mr. Sweets first, of course.
Mr. Sweets is the grandson of
Sweet Peter
Sweet
Dieter.
Peter Dieter.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm going back into my street, what do you call it, street lit days.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up initially with a character named Sweet Peter Dieter.
Which sold over 20,000 copies when it
Isn't
first
that
came out.
something?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
Go ahead.
I wanted to say something about an area that I lived in, and also about a period of my life. And one of those periods was taken up very seriously by Big Al, Cash Black, Money Man. They had, pimps.
Mm.
And they had a certain kind of philosophy. It was completely flawed, but they made themselves believers in it. Finally, we come to...
Well, wait a minute. With Sweet Peter Dieter, this is a man of the streets, and he finds out that there are other ways to make money that were quite legit and much more profitable.
Sure.
Okay? And
Yeah.
he ended up having his ladies of the night, ladies of the day, do Tai Chi.
Do Tai Chi.
Okay? So,
Keep them in good shape.
good shape,
And
yes.
since they had been used to working together, I believe one of the things they did was form the international trading company
Yes.
to
and
make imports from Africa and wherever. other
entertainment, yeah, they got together.
So,
They made it legit.
places. No one need be condemned forever to the underworld if you can
Right.
rise up. Finally, we got the snake doctor.
Ooh, I
The
love
snake doctor is the son of
the snake.
one of the characters in the
No, the snake.
Shackles Across Time.
Well, also the snake. The
Yes,
son of the snake.
the
Okay.
son of a snake.
Yes, okay, from Snake 2020.
Yes. Ooh.
Okay.
We're becoming esoteric. here
Right,
now.
and so Snake 2020, he ends up having a child by a woman of the village who grew up in a pole situation.
That's
pole,
right, that's
pole
right.
situation. P-O, not P-O-R.
Yes.
Yes,
Paul,
it's pole situation. And who becomes a doctor.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. In every case I can think of, I've tried to take the people who came from nothing into something.
Well, what about Little Sweets?
Oh, same thing. Who becomes a robotic therapist?
Well, you might say in the robot hoes are almost maybe involved with AI because they start doing things they were not programmed to do.
Okay, we're talking about AI. I mean, sorry,
AI, AI, yeah.
AI.
Uh-huh.
Talking about AI before AI was talked about.
Right.
So,
Okay, and so your whole robots,
mm,
summer, winter, spring, and fall, they ended up doing things they were not programmed to do. And so Little Sweet says, I've got to check into what's going on there. You know,
Bobo, you asked for it, and you got it.
that's 5 of the 38, 39 books.
Yeah.
And soon there'll be quadrant balls
Quantum balls.
and bright moments. But
Yes, the women who entered a certain kind of agreement in New Orleans in the 18th century. It's a fascinating story.
on with the reading then.
Okay, on with the reading. This one this evening is about somebody you may have heard of at the time this was happening, but certainly you didn't hear about it very long afterwards because they smothered this. But in the African Times, the publisher, Mr. Charles Ansham, was bold enough to say, tell that story.
Okay.
So here's the story of, I'm calling it the case of, this is written October 15, 31, 1998. Case of Baba Sissoko. I have a suspicion that America's peculiar brand of journalistic racism will always be with us, like roaches, alligators, rats, and snakes. This particular racism is always mean-spirited, and at times ludicrous. Check it out. August 17th, 1998. The lower right corner of the front page of the Los Angeles Times, right down there. The bold-faced print states, benefactor accused of voodoo economics. Before I made any effort to read the piece, I squeezed my brain pad to try to figure out what voodoo economics could be. I've never heard of Catholic economics, Jewish economics. Never heard of that either, not outside of the Nazi circles. Lutheran economics, Hindu economics, Buddhist economics, Navajo economics. Evidently, Mike Clary, the Times writer, failed to think of the insult that he gave to millions of people in Africa, Europe, Asia, the Americas, and the Caribbean who believe in Voodoo, Candomblé, Santeria, Obeah, Shango, or as we call it in North America, the religion. Or maybe his Eurocentric tunnel vision doesn't acknowledge that these millions exist. Tycoon, in quotes. Malian, this is somebody from Mali in West Africa, rained money on Miami, but a banker blames black magic. And this, the distorted picture and the story of a brilliant African man, is ladled onto a dirty plate and shoved under our noses. Foutanga Babani Sissoko, Baba, is accused of giving $300,000 to an African-American high school marching band in Greater Miami. He is accused of buying $40 million worth of Florida real estate, jewelry, fleets of luxury cars. He is accused of donating $1.2 million to a Miami homeless shelter, of tipping a masseuse 10 measly grand and buying 3 hardworking Miami lawyers Mercedes-Benz 300 SLs at 65 grand a wop. Who is this guy? And where does the money come from? Cocaine? No. Do you believe that the DEA explored all of the nooks and crannies? Well then where? From black magic, according to the clear-headed Times writer. Black magic. Sissoko is accused of embezzling $240 million from a Middle Eastern bank after bamboozling a bank officer with tribal voodoo. I have 6 would-be rich computer nerds surfing the net right now trying to locate the tribe that has this voodoo. We're serious too. And it gets weirder as it goes on. Somehow this functionally illiterate, who only speaks Bambara, poor French, and no English, is capable of controlling a Gambian-based airliner, Air, operate hotels, banks, and gold mines, build schools, hospitals, and roads in Mali, but must rely on voodoo economics to keep his bank book fat. I'm sure the Russians will give anything for a taste of voodoo economics right now. But first, before we allow the Russians carte blanche to carte noire, let's finish our exploration of this defamation of character article on this incredibly astute African man. Summing up all of the information offered by the vindictive journalist leaves us no choice but to suggest that Foutanga Babani Sissoko Baba must be one of the planet's most incredible minds. Of course, the article in one of our nation's leading papers makes every effort to persuade us that this charlatan has used unholy powers to get him to wherever he is. Tycoon. Devil may care spending habits. Tycoon. Devil. We are informed that Brother Sissoko had some tribal potions brought in from West Africa. Had some special powder sprinkled around the courthouse where he was holding the American judicial system hostage during the course of one of his legal pachangas. I'm sure Trump would like to have some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And had a violet-colored liquid released into Biscayne Bay. Violet color, y'all. Not rose, aquamarine, salmon, amber, Neapolitan, or even gorgeous red, but violet colored.
Mm-hmm.
The computer nerds have added violet colored liquids to their search warrants, in addition to special powders. Wonder what kind of chuckles Cornfeld, Bolker, Trump, Keating, and the gang must get out of this when they read it. We're at 96, 98. It was Trump and the gang already were going at it pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened to Baba,
Mm-hmm.
but he disappeared. And I'm sure
Shit happens.
I'm sure the columnists would say that, because he came and he was at the time he was all over the place.
Well,
Nice looking black man, you know, he had nice.
don't investigate too deeply. One might get caught up into the swamp.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
c'est la vie. That's the story for this evening. And hey,
Thank
Mo,
you. Okay, your website is www.odiehawkins.com. Your books can be purchased on Amazon, can be purchased in Barnes & Noble online, and some local bookstores. Just check and see, you know the title, or just call and say, do you have any books by Odie Hawkins, O-D-I-E Hawkins. And with that,
okay, before we end, Bobo, don't think that I set myself on fire or anything. It's just a little incense that I had burning coming up this way.
gotcha.
And if you see me disappear in a fade out
Ha ha.
by saying it,
Miss.